This is a follow-up video of Professor Chidi Odinkalu's 2027 permutations. In the other one, he reprimanded Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar for not protesting the way Tinubu and Buhari protested prior to 2015 presidential election. There are divided opinions about this. Everyone is built differently. Peter Obi is not a confrontational person. He might use strong words to criticize the current administration, but he will never be confrontational, unlike Tinubu, who is very confrontational. Remember the way they campaigned against Goodluck Jonathan in 2015? They threatened him directly that if he ever dares to rig the election in his favor, that they will form a parallel government. So they never hid how desperate they were for power. They continue to be desperate for it. So you can't compare their rhetoric to how Peter Obi conducts his own affairs. He has never hidden the fact. In fact, he continues to say it, that he is not desperate to be president, that he's just desperate to see a Nigeria that works. When you look at some countries where the people topple their government, like it happened in Bangladesh a few months ago, you will see that the opposition wasn't even at the forefront of the protest that toppled the government. You might say they took advantage of it. No opposition wouldn't do that around the world. Yes, even in developed countries, the opposition must take advantage if there is a massive uprising by the people. But in Nigeria, they always expect a messiah who will be at the forefront. Despite the fact that these men are billionaires, they have money that can last them for generations. They can afford to abandon Nigeria and live the good life in many countries around the world. So why do we have this mentality that someone must lead the protest? It shows that the suffering isn't hitting hard yet. Because if you think that someone will do it for you, instead of you that is suffering, that doesn't know where the next meal will come from, and you can identify the people that impoverish you, they continue to tax you more, despite the fact that they cannot give account of their IGR. If you're waiting for someone to come and do it for you, then you are not ready yet. Until a massive organic uprising happens, things will never change. No one will come and lead any protest. It must be spontaneous, like it happened in Bangladesh, in many countries where the people toppled their governments. Now, in this one, Professor Chidi Odinkalu gives his opinion on what the opposition must do in order to defeat Tinubu in 2027. According to him, he is now looking beyond 2027 because it doesn't seem as if the opposition is serious about defeating Tinubu in 2027. It's as if everything has been decided. These are his personal opinions. Things can change in the future if Nigerians are ready to do it. Let's take a listen.
Medium-term and long-term interventions are more concerned about the short-term interventions that can be deployed to safeguard the integrity of the 2027 presidential election. You said something just the last comment, which I have my bread, and it's actually what happened in 2015. The APC told Jonathan that they will declare an interim government if he rigs the election. In fact, the country was tense. I do not see that kind of energy in 2023. It was a joke. We didn't need to go to court. So I want to know, Prof, your own opinion on what is the short-term intervention to safeguard that election, because I don't think we have time for the long-term and the rest of it. Thank you very much, Prof.
My brother, thank you. Do you want me to be honest with you?
Please, Prof, straight to the point.
I do not think Tinubu will organize an election and lose it. Full stop. Okay? And not to a bunch of people who haven't got a framework right now. So I want to be practical. And so anybody telling me now about 2027, and by the way, as we speak, Tinubu and APC have enough numbers in the National Assembly to amend and in the states to amend the Constitution and give Tinubu tenure extension. That is our reality right now. And when people therefore start talking about electoral reform, I look at them and I laugh. Now, I was fully involved in the campaign against third term. I cannot say publicly a fraction of what we did or how we did it. And when I look at what transpired in that, now my bigger fear is not 2027, because constitutionally, Tinubu, as an incumbent president, howsoever he got there, has a right to run again. And if you control NNPC, control Chief Justice, SSS, chief of army staff, have appointed INEC chairman, and have appointed the CBN governor. And the governors of Rivers State and Delta State have defected to your party. You are in charge of Lagos State government and you lose an election. Something is wrong with you. You're dead, basically. That's the only circumstance in which Tinubu will not be announced winner of the election. I don't know about winner, but the announced winner of the election, Tinubu will have to be dead physically for that to happen. And so I am not in the realm of, I'm very idealistic, but I'm also fairly brutally honest with myself to begin with. So this is the first thing. My bigger issue is not whether or not Tinubu serves until 2031. It is the real possibility now, guys, that Tinubu is going to serve beyond 2031. So if you're asking me, my framing of this thing is third-term issue. It is not about, I will not frame a campaign on 2027. I will frame a campaign on third term and start from there to mobilize. But when people can't even see that the landscape has changed beyond 2027, and they're thinking about how P2B is going to be adopted by El-Rufai, who is going to use him to get Igbo sentiment for his 2031 run, I get tired, of all of this, and they come to abuse me. Anybody can abuse me, or I'm used to being abused, and I'm very comfortable being abused. But the idea that of the obedient, my obedient friends, right? I'm not obedient. I'm a skeptic by definition, and I don't like hero worship. So every person has got to be subject to criticism and accountability, and that includes P2B, and that includes Atiku, that includes Tinubu, that includes myself and everybody. We've got to be brutally honest with ourselves. If people cannot see that Peter does not have a pathway to the presidency with El-Rufai, and they are celebrating Peter meeting with El-Rufai and going around, then there's a problem. There is a huge problem. And if that is the way they are going to win power, let Tinubu rule until 2031, and then we'll fix our problems. For me, it is very straightforward. But I'm not focusing on 2031, as I told you. The problem we have has changed hands. We are in PHCN. The problem we have now is a third-term problem. It is no longer a 2027 problem for me. In 2027, Tinubu will be announced winner, whether he's in hospital or he's in State House. Tinubu will not campaign, and he will still be announced winner. That is my situation right now, and I accepted that as the reality. In my very humble, limited opinion, I cannot stop the people who are focused on 2027 from focusing on 2027, because they also have civic agency and they have a right to determine for themselves what they want to do. I also cannot stop myself from telling them that they are wasting time. That if you want to frame a campaign that will capture Nigerian imagination, don't frame it as 2027, frame it as anti-third term campaign. That Tinubu is not going for a one-party state. Tinubu is going for tenure extension. And when he gets the mandate in 2027, he will use it to recalibrate the constitutional landscape and extend his tenure. When you frame a message like that, you actually are more likely to build an unusual coalition, because the North will begin to think, you mean this man is going to keep us in the cold for more than this? Even their own political landscape will start altering. In the midst of all of that, we are more likely to throw up a new political leadership. We are more likely to begin to search to find out how we are going to try and resolve these things. Of course, it's going to be difficult to tell Southern Nigeria that their man will stay 4 years and then the power will go back to the North for another 8 years. So there are issues here for all of us to resolve, and nobody has a foolproof answer to all of those issues. But we need to start thinking about what to do. Let me tell you this. Ahead of 2023 elections, I wrote a manual. Anybody who knows will, or for all of my friends who were telling people to go and collect PVC, I called several of them. I put my thoughts down in writing in detail as to how the election was going to be run. Why? And how could I have done so? I worked as an advisor to Jega in 2011 and 2015. Ahead of the 2019 elections, I decided because that continued into the tenure of the current INEC chairman. I saw him up close and personal. I decided I didn't want anything to do with him because the man just didn't have what it takes in the departments where you need the INEC chairperson to have what it takes. He didn't. The fiber did not exist. And there are things I cannot say here about the kinds of things, and Nigerians don't know a fraction of the things that occurred. So when I presented the details to my friends, they said, no, I was trying to demobilize people. Their message was go and tell people that they should be collecting PVC. I said, fine, please tell people to collect PVC, but also warn them about these possibilities and the need to try and create a counterpoise to them. They said I was being cynical. Everything I told them, down to a T. If anybody wants to know what I wrote, I'll send it to you directly. Everything happened. Everything that happened in 2023 presidential election was foreseeable. Everything that happened in 2023 presidential election was foretold. So there is no, politics and presidential politics in particular, and democratic politics is a rational process. It's not voodoo. When people come the way we come in Nigeria, overwhelm it with emotion and sentiment, we lose the capability to do anything. So as to where we are, I think the messaging for me is clear. The options are very clear, and it does not involve magic. But are we prepared to confront reality? That Tinubu is not going to lose an election that he calls. That's the first thing people will. And if you're going to do that, you've got to be prepared to drive Nigeria to beyond the brink. Which one of these guys can drive Nigeria to beyond the brink? You see, if you're going to go into a contest, at the minimum, do what? Carry sand in your hand. Have you never lived inside village before? Carry sand in your hand now, so that if the contest they get somehow, at least you will carry sand, pour inside the person's eye. Okay? The person will feel there has been a battle, there has been a contest. Right now, there is no contest in this landscape. That's the point I am making. Anybody who does not see that is either deluded or is misleading themselves or has too much energy to burn, and quite honestly, the person is unemployed. Somebody said I'm killing Tinubu's character. Did anybody tell them that Tinubu became president because he has character? I mean, it's a very laughable proposition. Tinubu did not become president by being a man of character. So how can anybody kill something that does not exist? So let's be, at least we can have a rational conversation based on clear enough parameters. I haven't said anything here that I'm not willing to take a bullet for. From El-Rufai is a killer to Tinubu will not organize an election that he's going to lose, to I'm not willing to become a groupie for Peter Obi or Atiku right now because they're not willing to provide leadership. Everything I have told you here now, I am willing to take a bullet for. So these are not matters that I'm afraid of putting forward. And I've told you, 2027, there is a way around creating acoustics of competition that makes sense. And at the moment, I do not see any of that happening. And I said acoustics of competition that can make sense. Just take note of how I have phrased that. Thank you.